2023 has been an incredibly good year for true wireless earbuds. I'm going to be updating my Earbuds Awards video soon with all of the newest winners, but before then, I want to give some love to the often overlooked semi-open style of earbud. See, most earbuds now have silicone ear tips, like AirPods Pro. Companies have realised that these are much better for giving a bass-enveloping acoustic seal, strong noise cancellation, and for many, an improved fit too. But lots of you miss the classic semi-open design, like original AirPods, the ones that sit in your ears but don't push into your ear canal. There are drawbacks to this design, namely a drop in sound quality and isolation, but it also has advantages like offering better spatial awareness, hygiene, and they're typically lighter and more comfortable as well. Lots of people simply don't want earbuds to plug their ears, and that's where this design is great. Sadly, there are far fewer earbuds with this design nowadays, but this year I've been testing out as many of them as I could to narrow down a list of the 7 best models on the market right now. We'll compare and rank them all for various categories to account for the different earbud priorities people have, and I'll summarise the results at the end. So here it is, the best semi-open earbuds on the market. First up then is Soundpeats Air4. I did consider the Air 3 Deluxe HS, but this new model offers some nice upgrades. The design is simple, the copper accents help to distinguish these somewhat, but otherwise it's a relatively simple plastic build. The case is nice and small and thin, but sadly doesn't offer wireless charging, so no major design points here. The controls are fairly limited as well. The touchpads are responsive, easy to locate, and you get a good range of gestures, but you can't customize the controls at all, and there's no wearing detection either for auto pause and play. The single tap is rather sensitive and triggers the volume control. Some will like this whilst others won't, but the touch controls can just be disabled entirely if you'd rather. These are one of the more feature-light entries, as you can see in the companion app. It's essentially just some EQ options, a game mode, and an ANC mode. Now, with semi-open earbuds, you're never going to get strong noise cancellation because your ears aren't sealed off from your environment. In fact, the ANC here is sadly pretty much pointless and barely makes any difference at all. The only clear things it does do are introduce a faint hiss and also bring a massive increase to the bass response. So it's basically just a bass boost EQ. As I said though, what this design does bring is an ultra-light and comfortable feel in the ear, the kind that means you can often forget you're even wearing earbuds. Pretty much all of these earbuds feel like this, so although I will mention any small comfort differences, there's no dedicated comfort category for this video, simply because they're all so similar. I have included a workouts category though, and since they all have essentially the same durability rating, it's going to be mostly down to how secure the fit is, something that will of course vary depending on your ear shape. All of the earbuds get worn for exercising, running, laying down on a workout bench, they have to pass the smiling test, and even shaking my head side to side. The Soundpeats Air4 did just about pass these tests, except for shaking my head. It's an earbud I can run with, but the fit is rather loose. The part that sits in your ear is quite small, which may be great for smaller ears, but it's not the most secure feeling fit either. Where these really shine is in the spec sheet. Not so much the battery, you get a modest 6.5 hours, though my experience was slightly short of that in practice. The IP rating is also only X4, and like the other earbuds in this video, they're only resistant to splashes of water. But these are the number one option for connectivity, boasting excellent range with Bluetooth 5.3, the aptX lossless codec with Snapdragon sound, that's still pretty rare, and an excellent game mode that reduces the lag so much that even fast-paced shooters are no problem. Best of all though, they have instant switching multipoint. So that's where you can be connected to 2 devices simultaneously, and simply pressing play on the other device instantly triggers the switchover and pauses the sound on the first device. It's really useful. The other multi-point earbuds all use the older method of making you press pause on the first device before switching over.
So here's a sample of the mic quality. Sadly, these did come in last place overall on account of the voice clarity just lacking slightly compared to the others. The background noise isolation was actually okay, but there are others in this video with better mics for phone calls.
And as for the sound quality, Snapdragon sound lossless quality seems great on paper, but is only as good as the drivers and the tuning delivering the sound. The Air4s offer punchy, energetic sound with sharp treble. There's a bit of a V-shaped tuning by default, and perhaps a slight lack of refinement in that mid-range that stops these from ranking any higher. I think the ANC mode is needed to give that full-bodied bass, almost enough to rival what an in-ear design can offer, and the sound is lacking in bass without it. But unfortunately, this does also result in lower battery life, and a significant sound adjustment like this should really only be coming from the equalizer. For me, their adaptive EQ didn't offer much, but I did find a custom EQ helped to tame the slightly harsh default treble. So these might need a bit of work to get the best sound out of them, but there's certainly a lively and powerful sound to unlock here if you take the time to find it. It's not the most flattering of rankings overall, but these are the cheapest entry in this video. They pretty much consistently have great discounts and certainly punch above their weight because of that. So in terms of value for money, these are definitely worth a look. Next up is Marshall's Minor 3 earbuds, and we're going from one extreme to the other in terms of the design. For starters, this rough textured charging case looks and feels great. It seems pretty rugged, and yet is still super compact and portable. There's a battery LED indicator, a dedicated pairing button, and this supports wireless charging alongside USB-C, so it's the full package. And then you've got the earbuds, which also have a great build quality and a really sleek design with these textured stems, which gives them a premium quality feel. It was an easy choice for the design winner. The controls are also quite sensitive and respond well with some satisfying tonal feedback, plus you do get wearing detection, which is great to have. My only gripe is that it is a little slow to auto-resume your music, often playing through one earbud briefly before the other side catches up, and you can't disable wearing detection either. There's also some control customization, but it's only to make a long press either your voice assistant or to cycle the 3 equalizers. You can instead turn touch controls off entirely. The Marshall app has a really nice interface, but beyond this, you can basically only set a custom EQ and that's it. So another feature light option. The fit with these is similarly loose and light like Soundpeats, but for me was a touch more secure. They stayed in shaking my head side to side and when exercising, but again don't feel super secure. Such is the nature of this earbud design. These are also IPX4, so okay overall for workouts, but not great. Spec-wise, these just surpass the 5-hour battery life claim, and you do get fast charging here for a quick battery top-up. For connectivity, there's Google Fast Pairing, which is nice, Bluetooth 5.2, and the SBC and aptX codecs. So unusually, no AAC. However, I didn't think that SBC made much difference to the sound, connection, or latency, so I don't think iPhone users should really worry. The latency was fine for videos, but I wouldn't recommend gaming with these, and there's no game mode either. These are also missing multi-point support, so bad news for those wanting to connect to 2 devices at the same time.
So with the mic quality, I placed these just above the Soundpeats Air4 because of the voice clarity being better. They actually let in more background noise, but I found in a noisy environment they just made my voice a bit more quiet as opposed to the slight muffling you get with the Air4s. So these are okay for phone calls, but not great.
Now, the sound quality here is stripped back from what you might expect if you're familiar with Marshall headphones. The bass, for instance, is a bit quiet and much more in line with what's typical for a semi-open earbud. The overall tone is the brightest of this video's earbuds. The mid-range is clean and slightly emphasized, but offers really clear vocals. The treble is also good, although cranking up the volume too much can make them verge on being a bit harsh. Thankfully, there's now app support, and you can increase the bass with a custom EQ, but even pushed up to the max, it still didn't offer the punchy levels I really wanted. So these are better suited towards those who like a brighter sound signature as opposed to bass heads. And that's worth noting since this type of sound signature can actually suit some genres really well, and you don't typically find earbuds with a tuning like this. Marshall's Minor 3 have improved a lot with updates since they first launched, and they're better than initial reviews might suggest. The added app support brings some much needed customization, and the sound signature and unique design especially is a strong USP. Next up is Apple's 3rd generation AirPods, the only entry that offers a drastically different experience on iOS versus Android. So don't worry, I will clarify this and how this affects the ranking system, but you might be surprised to learn that these are still a decent option on Android. Design-wise, we know the deal. These are essentially AirPods Pro in shape, just without the silicone ear tips. They come in just the one colour with this iconic earbud and case design, but I've actually ranked these quite highly there. One, because the build quality does reflect the premium price tag, but also because the case is ultra portable and offers both wireless charging and MagSafe charging. USB-C would have been perfect, but these just managed to dodge the newly imposed laws and come with a lightning cable. One thing Apple has really refined over the years is the ergonomics of these earbuds. It's no wonder so many companies copy this design because the fit is near universal and also relatively very secure. These had the least movement during all of my fit tests, so I do think these are a good option for workouts. Plus, the IPX4 rating extends to the charging case as well. That's something you don't normally see. These have the most premium control system with the haptic feedback force sensors on the stems, which eliminates those accidental touches with overly sensitive touch controls, along with the fastest auto pause and play with the wearing detection. The catch though is that wearing detection is one of the Apple exclusive features that won't work on Android. Plus, there's no companion app for Android users either, which means no customization. The music controls will work fine on Android, but summoning the voice assistant, using either your voice or the force sensors, will only work on Apple devices. On iOS, you can actually only adjust the controls for phone calls, so customization is even limited there, but any of the other features you may wish to toggle on or off will have to be done on an Apple device. AirPods offer great accessibility features including the left-right balance, live listen to feed in the outside noise through the mics, or even to play background sounds to help you focus. But again, Android users won't be able to access this. For battery life, these meet the claim of 6 hours per charge and 30 in total with the case. And then for connectivity, we have the SBC and AAC codecs, and rather strangely, just Bluetooth 5. The range and latency on Android was fine, but amazing on iOS. And the reason Apple didn't bother pushing for a newer spec is because of the H1 chip. There's obviously no Google Fast Pair for Android either, no multipoint, and no game mode, so these have to take last place for connectivity. But on iOS, it's a different story. That H1 chip brings a number of exclusive connectivity features to Apple devices, like instant pairing by opening the case near your device, and then with a tap you're paired with all of your Apple devices on the same iCloud account. Afterwards, you can switch between them instantly, or even automatically, just by using another device. Battery tracking is integrated into the software, as is precise location tracking with the Find My network. It's just lots of little quality of life perks that will only work on Apple. If you're an iOS gamer, then AirPods will definitely be your best friend, because you simply won't find lower latency for wireless earbuds or headphones than AirPods paired up with an iPhone. So obviously these features would give AirPods a clear win for connectivity on iOS. But since AirPods are the exception, I'll keep the ranking system for how the earbuds perform on Android to keep things simple, and show you at the end how AirPods change things for Apple users.
The mic quality with these is good, as you'd expect from AirPods, but the 5th place finish shows just how far the competition has come along. AirPods are no longer on top. The voice clarity was great, that's why these are so good in quiet environments, but your caller will likely be able to hear lots of the background noise as well. And that's why some of the other entries in this video perform better overall for phone calls.
When it comes to sound quality, AirPods have traditionally never been up there with the best thanks to Apple's play it safe approach, but it actually works better in the semi-open earbud space. What you get is a really nicely balanced sound signature that can actually reach a pretty loud max volume with very low distortion. It's clear, the treble never sounds too harsh, and there's a strong full-bodied bass response that stops these from sounding empty. It's still not the kind of pounding bass that'll blow you away, and outside of a quiet environment, the earbuds may struggle to create an immersive experience. Apple tries to compensate for that and the relatively narrow soundstage with their spatial audio feature. It uses dynamic head tracking, which I'll admit does work well, and you get a much more open and, well, spacious sound. But like many others, I still personally prefer my music experience with the feature turned off. Once again, this is for Apple devices only, and there's actually no form of custom equalizer at all, even on iOS. I think that's my biggest gripe with these overall, and if you want to tweak the sound to your own preference, then you should give these a miss. Apple does have their adaptive EQ, which gives real-time optimizations to the sound based on the fit in your ear, which is a smart feature that's nice to have, but still no substitute for a custom equalizer. I wouldn't say that AirPods aren't good on Android, that's been made clear from my testing. It's just very hard to justify that high price tag when you'll miss out on all of these great Apple exclusive features. AirPods are a solid all-round performer, but it's those unique extras that make them special. The 4th entry is Samsung's Galaxy Buds Live. Sorry, I couldn't help but put one joke entry in here, and as earbuds go, the Galaxy Beans are just hideously uncomfortable and, well, hideous. No good. The actual 4th entry is Edifier's W320TN, which I suspect may be the most overlooked model in this entire video. The design here is quite simple, with this glossy plastic finish for both the earbuds and the charging case, and the stems are quite long on these, so these are the biggest earbuds in this video. The case is reasonably small and compact, but doesn't offer wireless charging, so these don't rank particularly high for the design. The controls here are interesting because Edifier uses a similar squeeze system to Apple's force sensors. You can adjust the sensitivity of this in the app, but to be honest, the range is still very limited and you don't get anywhere near the same great tactile response. You get great customization over the gestures though. You can choose literally any of the controls for either earbud, and only the single squeeze is reserved. You also get wearing detection, which can be customized too, though sadly the auto resume for your music is rather slow. The fit with these is similar to AirPods and passed all of my fit tests, but they aren't quite as secure. They felt a little bit more loose on a workout bench for instance, but still didn't fall out with this or when running. There's an IP54 protection rating, so that's for some dust ingress as well as splashes, and these make a decent workouts option. They're not quite as light and seamless as the Marshall or especially the Soundpeats earbuds, instead these feel more secure in the ear but are still very comfortable to wear. Battery life here was a weakness though, falling just shy of the 5.5 hour claim, and you only get 3 hours of listening when using the LDAC codec. So that's pretty poor. You get up to 27.5 hours in total with the case, and there is a fast charge feature, but battery life might be a concern if you want to listen for long periods at a time. Connectivity was much better with Google Fast Pair, you get great range with Bluetooth 5.3, and there's multi-point support too. For codecs it's SBC and LDAC, so again no AAC for iOS users, but the latency issue was not what I expected. There was a tiny delay with videos on Android, but it is just about low enough, and LDAC was better than SBC. But I certainly wouldn't try gaming with these on Android, despite these also including a dedicated game mode. But on iOS, the latency was extremely low, second only to AirPods. In fact, you could even game without the game mode turned on, and it was strange to experience such good audio sync over SBC. Elsewhere in the app you get a good amount of customization, toggling multi-point or LDAC, the prompt volume, and there's a Find My Earbuds feature too. You get a choice of 4 preset EQs as well. I think the rock preset gives a slight bass and decent treble boost to the stock settings, but sadly there's no custom EQ. That was a real shame. But on the homepage of the app you'll notice the ANC controls. Yes, these earbuds have both noise cancellation and a transparency mode. The ambient mode is slightly clearer than the off mode, but we know that you can hear your surroundings pretty well with semi-open earbuds anyway. The adaptive noise cancellation surprised me though, because you can clearly hear the reduction in the surrounding noise when you turn this on. The ANC genuinely works. There is a faint hiss, but you can hear that it's actually cancelling out noise and not just masking it. Edifier says their AI adaptive system is designed to specifically work with the semi-open fit, and I have to say they've done an excellent job with this. It even rivals some of the in-ear ANC I've experienced. Just be aware that using it will further impact the limited battery life.
It's perhaps no surprise then that the voice isolation tech is also very effective when making phone calls. The background noise cancellation is very aggressive, and it means you can be heard even in noisy environments. It can sometimes muffle your voice, so you'll still sound better in a quiet place, but these take the #1 spot for phone calls.
Edifier's sound quality is much more crisp, detailed and open than what the AirPods provide. The soundstage is wider, vocals are really clear and forward, and the treble isn't as rolled off and mellow. The downside is that the bass isn't quite as strong here. It's lacking the warmth in the low end that AirPods have. I wouldn't call the bass weak, but it is still lacking from what I expect most people would want, and since there's no custom EQ, you can't really improve it much either. The bass is still more punchy than what Marshall offers though, the highs aren't as harsh as with Soundpeats, and the overall balance is quite good. I should mention that this is the only pair that I thought sounded significantly better on Android devices with the LDAC codec. The others were all fairly even across platforms, but this one I'd recommend to Android users if sound quality is a priority. The W320TN are another pair that I'd expect you could find with a significant discount online. They offer great sound quality, mic quality, and surprisingly good ANC, with the main potential drawback being the battery life. Next up is the most interesting entry in the video, Sony's LinkBuds. I'm a big fan of the LinkBuds S, but it's the original model that has the semi-open design, and a very unusual and distinctive design at that, which, thanks to the open ring, leaves your ears more open to your surroundings than any of the others. The charging case is small, but a bit thicker than most, and sadly doesn't support wireless charging. The case and earbuds are made from recycled materials, which is great, and the packaging has no plastic, so Sony continues to take good environmental steps. These are smaller and a lot more comfortable than they appear. In fact, that open ring design makes it very easy to forget you're wearing these. It's also easier to get them comfortably into position than you might expect, but these are the only model you can securely fix into place with wingtips. I love when earbuds offer this because it means you can get a fit that's locked into place and don't have to rely on the shape just happening to fit your ears well. What's nice is they still feel light and loose, but the wingtips ensure they won't fall out. The caveat is that they won't guarantee stability in all ears. You get multiple sizes of wingtips, but it's ultimately still down to your ear shape. After a few hours, the large wingtips can start to irritate my ears a bit, so I'd wear them for workout stability, but swap to the smaller ones for more comfortable casual listening at home. There's an IPX4 rating, and I've given these the #1 spot for workouts because of those wingtips. But just bear in mind that if there isn't a perfect wingtip size for you, then they might actually be one of the poorer workout options because they would fall out quite easily without them. They take the #1 spot for controls too, because there's wearing detection, and then Sony's wide tap feature means you don't have to touch the tap controls on the earbuds. You can tap just in front on your face or on your ears, and this works really well. There's also Sony's handy speak to chat feature, a selection of service linking like Spotify Tap, and there's hands-free Alexa and Google Assistant support. One feature I really like is adaptive volume control, which automatically adjusts the volume based on the noise level in your environment. So loads of convenient control features there. The only downside is that the control customization still comes in groups, so you can't set individual controls, and they've got that weird Sony thing where you can't use the left earbud on its own if you set the controls to be a specific voice assistant. These offer fast charging and a 5.5-hour battery life, but in practice you'll likely get less than this. There are numerous features in Sony's excellent feature-packed companion app you can turn on, like the digital upscaler, adaptive volume, and others that all lower the actual battery life you'll experience. So you should expect considerably less than this, and you don't get a whole lot of extra juice in the charging case either. Connectivity is good with Google Fast Pair, Multipoint, Bluetooth 5.2, and the SBC and AAC codecs. Latency was fine for videos and okay for gaming on both platforms, but there's no dedicated game mode.
The LinkBuds mic quality was very good. The isolation is strong, so you can still be heard quite clearly in noisier environments. The background isolation isn't quite as effective as Edifier's, but these are certainly one of the stronger performers when it comes to phone calls.
The LinkBuds sound quality is really clean. The soundstage is actually, I think, the widest here, and there are no overpowered frequencies. There's a nice clarity to the mid-range as well, and I really enjoy the open nature of the sound. So why have these placed in 7th for sound quality? Well, it's the bass response. I think the sound is better refined with more polished mids and treble than Soundpeats Air4, but unfortunately these fall into that classic trap of semi-open earbuds lacking bass. These sound great in a silent room, but as soon as there's any background noise, you lose any sense of immersion and your music can sound a bit empty in the low end. I don't think the volume reaches high enough levels to simply drown out the outside noise either, so you're limited in where you're able to use these effectively. Sony does at least offer great EQ options, including custom modes, and there is a 360 spatial audio feature, but it's only compatible with specific services like Tidal. I love Sony's feature set, the smart control features, and those wingtips mean these offer something that none of the other entries can. But I think the lack of bass may be an issue for some, so you've got to consider if these earbuds would work for how you'd intend on using them. The penultimate entry then is Nothing's Earstick, and I said it was an easy choice to make Marshall the design winner, but these were in close contention. From a purely aesthetic standpoint, and the uniqueness of this charging case with its transparent and rotating design, these would win. They look awesome and stand out. But the practicality of Marshall's earbuds, the fact that it has a wireless charging case and this isn't, I factored that into the design too. Unfortunately, the Nothing case is prone to scratches and also collecting dust, which could spoil the appearance in the long term. There's no doubt that the earbuds look awesome though, the build quality is great and they're comfortable in the ear. The fit with these was reasonably secure, passing all of the fit tests, but once again it can still feel a bit loose. They're not as secure as AirPods for me, and those with very small ears may not get on so well with them. There's an IP54 protection rating, and overall I thought these were pretty good for workouts. These also use squeeze controls, and thankfully they offer a much stronger feedback than Edifier, and there's a little bit of customization for those, but not a lot. The Nothing app has a nice interface, and the earbuds integrate especially well with Nothing phones, but the app is reasonably feature-light. One of those features being noise reduction. Surprisingly, this also does work, and helps to bring down external noise. It worked well on traffic noise, for instance. Annoyingly, it comes with a faint hiss, it can amplify wind noise, and it's not quite as good as Edifier's. but it's still impressive that nothing has created an effective noise reduction mode for a semi-open earbud. Battery life is quoted as up to both 5 and 7 hours on Nothing's website, confusingly. Perhaps that's with and without noise reduction. I personally was getting around 6 hours of playback. There's fast charging as well, and you get up to 29 hours in total with the case. For connectivity, there's fast pairing on Android, SBC and AAC codecs, and Bluetooth 5.2. The low lag mode is also quite effective and might even make faster paced games playable. It's just not quite as good as the Soundpeats game mode. There's a Find My Earbuds feature too, but sadly these don't support multipoint.
Perhaps the most surprising aspect was the mic quality. It's pretty good. The background noise was extremely low, and the voice isolation tech is quite aggressive, so they're usually pretty good in noisier environments. It can be a little bit too aggressive sometimes though and muffle your voice, so these aren't quite as good as Edifier, but certainly a very good choice for phone calls.
With Nothing's sound quality, I was also surprised to hear such good clarity from these earbuds. The treble is really crisp, the mid-range is clear, and there's a similar punchy quality to the bass as Edifier. So you don't get the deeper, fuller bass that AirPods offer, but you do get a much cleaner and more detailed sound. You're going to want to increase the bass with the equalizer though. There are some preset options, but the advanced EQ gives you much more control. The volume drops a bit switching from the basic to the advanced EQ, but I really like how in-depth this is, because you can adjust the specific frequency and even the Q factor for each band, with the graph visually illustrating how this affects the sound. I've placed these in second overall for the detail and clarity gains you get over Marshall, Edifier and AirPods. The treble is more refined and less harsh than Soundpeats, despite not offering as good a bass response, and it's still a much more punchy sound than what Sony provides. Maybe it's actually Nothing's ear stick that surprised me the most. I think I expected these to offer more style than substance, but the overall performance was actually pretty great, especially for how much you're getting at this price point. And our final entry is JBL's Live Flex. There's a nice build quality to both the earbuds and the charging case. It's relatively compact and travel friendly, and does support wireless charging. It just loses some points for being the only case not to offer a pairing button, so the process of pairing to new devices is much more fiddly and cumbersome here. The earbud shape is similar to Soundpeats Air4, but the build seems a little bit higher in quality, and there's a nice two-tone glossy and matte finish. They feel almost as light in the ear as well, so very comfortable to wear and were reasonably secure for exercising. I can run with these, but they did fall out when shaking my head and felt quite loose on a workout bench. There's an IP54 rating for the earbuds and IPX2 for the case, so these were okay for workouts, but not the best option. The touch controls are responsive and give helpful tone or voice feedback, and customization over them is quite good but not perfect. They come in set groups of controls like Sony, and you can't set individual ones like Edifier. There is wearing detection, though it is a bit slow like Edifier's, but I still really like the controls here because these offer hands-free Alexa and Google Assistant control. Sony is the only other one in this video to offer this, but with JBL there's one advantage, in that you can still freely use either earbud on its own and place the other back in the case. The JBL app offers lots of great features, almost as many as Sony, but I like how they're all easily accessible on one page in the app. You've got equalizer options including custom and even personalized EQs, and there's a spatial sound toggle with modes for music, videos and gaming. It isn't head-tracked, but I did like that the music mode wasn't overly echoey, as the poorer spatial sound features often are, so this could actually be worth using. Like AirPods, you can adjust the left-right balance, and there's a max volume limiter too to help protect your hearing. I'm a big fan of this concept, but I just wish you could choose the specific volume limit yourself. It's set at 85 decibels only. These also come with a noise cancelling mode, and I really like that you can choose to either have this be adaptive, or you can set the ANC level yourself. It definitely does help to give a subtle noise reduction, but even at maximum, it's not quite as effective as either Nothing or Edifier's version. Definitely much better than Soundpeats though. It will of course impact the battery life, and also gives a noticeable bass boost to your music, something that wasn't an issue with either Nothing or Edifier. So battery life then is 8 hours per charge, or 6 with ANC, and you get up to 32 in total with the case. So that's the best so far, and the fast charge feature is quite quick as well. For connectivity, there's fast pairing, Bluetooth 5.3, and the SBC and AAC codecs. Multipoint is supported as well, and there's sort of a low latency mode, as JBL lets you switch to video mode to improve lip syncing. Videos were pretty much fine in the default music mode anyway, but video mode does slightly improve things if you want. and you'll see the difference more clearly when gaming. It helps a lot there, but it's still not quite as good as the dedicated game modes we've seen in the other earbuds.
JBL's mic quality was pretty good with these. The voice clarity was similar to AirPods, but there's better background noise reduction. They don't sound quite as natural as Sony's LinkBuds. Sometimes you can hear the noise gate closing, and there's some distortion when you're in a noisy environment. But overall, these are still pretty good for phone calls.
And as for the sound quality, well, these take the number one spot because of the bass response. In typical JBL fashion, this is a bass-heavy pair of earbuds with a warm overall tone and a rich, powerful low end. But the boosted bass compensates for what you typically lose in the semi-open design, so this tuning works really well here. You get a much more immersive sound experience, and these are definitely the best to wear when you're in a noisy environment. The smooth sound doesn't quite have the same crisp treble as, say, Nothing's Earstick, the soundstage isn't as wide as Sony or Marshall's earbuds, but there's definitely a more open and detailed sound than AirPods. You might want to use a custom EQ to bring out the best in the clarity these have to offer, and bear in mind that the ANC mode does give a boost to the bass as well, but these are definitely the earbuds to go for if you still want a deep bass response in a semi-open earbud. JBL's Live Flex boasts an impressive feature set, strong all-round performance, and is the overall sound quality winner. I found it hard to find these on the US JBL store, but they did confirm to me that stock is on the way and that the price will be under $100. So a surprising price tag given the UK pricing, but it would certainly make these great value for money. So, which of these earbuds should you buy? We'll take a look first at this summary of the key spec and feature differences. Feel free to pause the video here to take note of what features you'd want in a pair of earbuds. But if we switch over to see a summary of those rankings, you can now see that the running order was from worst to best in terms of the overall performance. Now obviously this is quite rudimentary and assumes you treat all categories the same. Not everyone does, of course. I could easily have chosen different categories, and we all prioritize these factors differently. Maybe you're sat there thinking, hey, I'd still want deep bass, I just don't like in-ear earbuds that plug my ears. Okay, well it's JBL or Soundpeats you want. Or maybe you don't mind compromising on sound a bit because you just want something comfortable that's great for phone calls. Go for Edifier. So you can use this table and the rest of the information in the video to choose your own personal winner based on what suits your requirements best. I mentioned that AirPods was the exception though, and if we look at how this table would change if it were for iOS users only, suddenly AirPods shoot up to number 1, as you'd probably expect, and there are a couple of other smaller changes too, but it's otherwise mostly the same. So do consider the phone you have and the devices you want to use these with. Obviously, what all this doesn't take into account is the price. That's the one factor that's always a variable and can change at any time. Just out of interest and based on the current prices I saw, this is how the price-adjusted rankings would look. You can see now that the expensive AirPods drop to last place, the cheap Soundpeats climb up, and Nothing's Earstick becomes the value winner. Again, this is an oversimplification, but you can at least factor your budget into the decision as well. For me, the overall winner does align with my personal choice as well. JBL's Live Flex impressed me with the great feature set and especially the sound quality for what I think is quite a reasonable price. I wouldn't want to compromise on bass if I'm switching to a semi-open earbud, and I don't have to here. So these are my pick for the best semi-open earbuds you can buy right now. As always, all of my usual in-depth testing went into this, and I couldn't spend ages talking about each earbud, otherwise this video would have been even longer. So if you have any further questions about these or any of the other candidates I tested out, including any earbuds you think I missed, then make sure to leave a comment. I've got links to all of these earbuds and any available discounts in the video description for those of you looking for last-minute Christmas ideas. If you found this video helpful, then please give it a like. These videos do take a lot of work to make, so I'd really appreciate it. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and hit the bell icon so you get notified when new videos go live. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.